Hey everybody, happy Friday the 13th, also known as Clark's birthday. My pup, my buddy. Today I'm late getting this video out because I've actually been trying to give him extra belly rubs and a longer walk and make sure he has a cool day. Good dreams tonight whenever he's sleeping soundly. He's actually sleeping right now because he's lazy, but hopefully he's already having good dreams now. Today we're going to talk about stereotyping and how I absolutely hate it and can't understand why it's something that we do. All that when we come right back. So stereotyping. I mean, I kind of for a long time thought that generalizing and stereotyping was the same sort of thing, but I've read some articles that try to argue that generalizing, you're taking a group of people and maybe looking at their cultural norms that we can generalize, okay, these type of people, maybe let's say it's gay people, they like it if you approach them with this, this, and this, and we look at it for marketing and stuff like that. Versus stereotyping would be saying, okay, you're a gay guy, you're a pedophile, or something like that. You're a priest, you're a pedophile. That it's more of this like large sweeping thing that is usually something bad that we put on top of another race, gender, sexuality, whatever it is that's different from us. And you know what actually started me thinking about this week was I recently got back from being in the South and living in New York and going to different parts of the country. It's quite of an experience because in New York, every race, creed, religion, we all come together and you function together properly. And while there may be small episodes of racism or hate crimes or something like this, for 8-point-something million people, they're just little specks. I mean, it's just kind of like a probability. It's bound to happen. We're going to have some bad eggs. But given how many people and how different we all are and how we make it work, to me, is incredible. But then you go to somewhere like the South where I might be in an area where it's all predominantly white or something like that, and their views of the world and everything are so different to now than what I've been exposed to, that some things to me seem racist, that even though these people that are speaking to me aren't necessarily meaning them in a racist way. And it was kind of ironic because I was having this thought as I was down in Texas, and I came back in, two of my great friends asked me, I guess while I was gone, they got in this conversation of if you go to a black guy or a brown guy and you say, okay, all black and brown guys' penises are very large. That's a stereotype that we do as humans, but is that being racist? And it kind of got me on this long tangent about where I think racism comes from and where we are with racism now. Racism at its core is one race trying to say they're superior to another race. And in my eyes, you know, in America, racism, when we have two separate water fountains, for most people today, that's kind of unthinkable. Like, how could we ever do something like that? That was obviously racist. But it's not to say because we don't do crazy stuff like that to this day that we still don't have extreme racism. Racism obviously just changes with its time and the social norms, etc. And I thought at the core of racism, what so much of it is not necessarily that they think their superiority is better, but it's sweeping generalizations and stereotypes based with lack of education on that other person. When I use education, I'm not saying like going to college or high school or whatever it is, but just being in a world where you're surrounded by other people different than yourself. And sometimes when you're yourself is different, like being gay, you're automatically a little more woke to what it's like to be on the outside of the status quo norm, which then gives you this empathy towards other people that you see outside of whatever social norms there are. And, you know, even with gay people, there may be things that somebody may say to me as a gay guy that could be construed as offensive, but if I know they're coming from a genuine place of ignorance, and I'm using the ignorance in a sense of they don't know, they've never been around gay people, I'm the first gay person they've ever met, I have to meet them where they're at and have some sort of understanding. But the difference is, you know, so let's say they come to me, they're making this sweeping stereotype, all gay guys are one way, and they're assuming that I just go right in and fit in that norm, and then I educate them myself by giving them an experience, we talk, we have conversation, and that person, at that moment can choose to take that information and no longer allow themselves to stay ignorant and try to do better, or they can just stay ignorant and continue making the hate crime slur, whatever it is that they're doing toward that person, being bigoted, etc. That in that moment, that's when the racism or the bigotry or whatever it is enters the scene. Now you're going past just being ignorant of the situation, because you've now had a chance to be awakened, to see that there's more than just you and the way that you see the world and the way that you are. And at that point, that's when I think a person does become a true racist or a true bigot or something, because their failure to be able to step outside of themselves and see another way of life or try to understand it. And it's something that we see just sweeping across the world, these crazy generalizations. All Muslims are the same as terrorists. Like these crazy statements when you think 12 billion people, how can they all be the same? It doesn't make any sense. Probability, that's not even the way it works. It's just kind of like, people, if you thought for 1 second about what you're saying, you would realize it doesn't make sense. We can't say that every Christian is exactly the same. We can't say every Buddhist is the same, because we're all people and we all have so many things that shape our own lives. Now, going back to that generalization quote, okay, maybe within certain communities, maybe within certain Jewish communities, there may be certain customs and cultural things that may make some Jewish people share some things that we can look at and they can do marketing tests or whatever for. Okay, I get that. But to have these blanket assumptions that all black people are one way, all brown people are one way, all Asian people, white people, it's absurd. And I feel like for Homo sapiens, it's beneath us. Like that, it goes back to that part of our brain that's just trying to categorize everything. Now we have this ability to go even beyond that. And we have so much knowledge now that the excuse isn't really there. All right, if you're living in a remote part of the world or the country or whatever, and you are only interacting with your culture, it's you know what, you're gonna be ignorant. It's just the way that it is, because you're not getting exposed to anything else. Nobody else is telling you any differently. But the second that somebody does, or that you learn different because you saw it on TV or you on the internet, whatever it is, that's the moment I think that you become a racist or a bigoted or a person who is a failure at stepping outside of themselves and seeing more than just race or gender or sexuality, whatever it is. And I think that as a culture around the world, we get better with not stereotyping, or if somebody tries to stereotype in front of us, we shut them down with knowledge. We can only get better, and we can only become more closer together. All right, that was my long rant on stereotyping, and I just can't stand it. And it seems like during the last election, not just in America, but around the world, there's been so much stereotyping. Let's see people for who they are. You know what I told my roommates about the penis joke is, because they were saying, that for guys, that's not a bad thing. If somebody comes up to you, is there any black or brown guy that's going to be like, nope, that's true, that's a false? And I said, I think that there are going to be people out there that are like, no. Get to know who I am. Don't take the stereotype you've been told, or you're coming into this introduction of me with preconceived ideas that may or may not be true. Why? Just get to know me. Learn who I am, and then we'll go from there. All right, those are Thoughts with Chaz. It's Friday the 13th. I hope you're having a lovely Friday the 13th, making that superstition go away. It's just a number. My building doesn't even have the 13th floor. Rock it, change it, go out and make the world a better place today. All my love. Bye, everybody. See you guys next week.